Preface. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Some years back, I made an attempt to narrate the story of Mahabharata. I must say that I succeeded to an extent in my attempt, and the book was published under the aegis of Kulapati Sri K. M. Munshi. My thoughts were then turned towards Srimad Bhagavatam. To many people, the Bhagavatam signifies only Krishna Avatara. In several pravachananas I've heard, only the 10th canto has been dealt with in great detail, and the talk ends invariably with the wedding of Krishna with Rukmini, and that is the end of it. There are quite a few, however, who are familiar with the 10 avatars of the Lord, Matsya being the first and Kalki the last. But then there are many more avatars, descents of Lord Narayana down to the earth during the three yugas. I was eager to tackle this great Purana and try to make young minds familiar with it. Right from the beginning, one fact was clear. Sri Bhagavatam is entirely different from Mahabharata. There is a continuity in Mahabharata in the story, which makes the narration comparatively easy. On the other hand, the Bhagavatam is made up of a number of isolated stories, incidents, and innumerable episodes. There is no continuity here to hold the attention of the reader. I was at a loss as to how I should begin. There are several places where one can say, this is the beginning. The Bhagavatam is repeated from mouth to mouth and it is related to different people by different preceptors. It is a confusing, tantalizing labyrinth where one easily gets lost. And again, since bhakti is the central theme, there are numerous passages where the praises of the Lord are sung. This is mostly by Brahma, who, with the Devas, recites the Purushashukta. I was afraid that constant repetition would be unwelcome, and so I have condensed some of the prayers and omitted some others altogether. This was unavoidable. The Bhagavata Purana is made up of 10 sections. The first is called Sarga. It comprises the creation of the universe, the Mahat and Aham Tattvas, and the Tanmatras, the manifestation of the Virat Purusha, the creation of living and non living beings by Brahma, Hiranyagarbha, is called Visarga. The establishment of each created being in its proper place by the Lord is called Utkarsha. His grace, which is infinite towards his bhaktas and which protects them, goes by the name Poshana. The narration of the different periods of time, started by different manus, is Manvantara. The vasanas following the karmas performed in the previous janma are called Uti. The stories about the Lord and his avatars are collectively named Ishakatha. The merging of the Jivatma with the Paramatma after the Yoga Nidra is called Nirodha, and the casting away of objects of enjoyment and even the desire for them, which is naturally followed by Atman, becoming one with the Brahma, is called Mukti. Abhasa, which is creation, and Nirodha, which is the merging back at the end of time, are all caused by the one which is eternal, which has no beginning and no end, and which cannot be described by words. That is called Ashraya. He is the refuge of everything in the universe. The aim of every aspirant is to reach this Ashraya and become one with him. This is the purpose of all tapas, of all yogas, and that is the one truth to be realized. I have enumerated the many sections of the Bhagavata Purana in such detail to make the reader understand how complex it is, and I hope I will be forgiven when I say that I found it almost impossible to handle all of it. I decided to take up one of these sections, Ishakatha, touching on the others here and there. The story of creation has been related in different places and in different forms. The foremost of them is when Brahma relates it to Narada. Lord Narayana himself had explained it to Brahma, and that is the first version of Visarga. Another is when Maitreya learns it from Parasara. Originally, Adishesha or Ananta is said to have taught this to Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara. Sankhyayanam learnt it from Sanat Kumara and taught this to Brihaspati. Brihaspati then passed it on to Parasara, from whom Maitreya learnt it and in his turn taught this to Vidura. Considering the complexity of the Purana, and again considering the fact that the reader is expected to be already familiar with the many words and terminologies used in the Visarga, it seemed to me that it may not be easy to follow it at first reading. I have therefore related the same in chapters 279 to 293. It is all quite complicated, and I cannot claim that I have been able to do full justice to the grandeur and sublimity of the subject. I have tried to begin at the very beginning and find my way through the confusing, distracting, and at the same time fascinating wilderness called Bhagavatam. Barring the Purusha Sukta, which occurs again and again throughout the Purana, like the refrain of a song or like the hypnotic drone of Tanpura in musical concert, I must draw the reader's attention to some beautiful sutras. The first of them is the Adoration of Krishna by Kunti, where she says, Vipadaha Santuna Shashvataha. May misfortune visit us continuously. There is the worship of Narayana by the child Dhruva, and later the words spoken by the other child Prahlada in the praise of the Lord in the form of Narsimha. One of the most beautiful passages in the Purana is the long conversation between Krishna and Uddhava at almost the end of the book. Part of it I had to place in the end since it seemed likely to tire the reader at the first reading. This conversation is almost a recasting of the Bhagavad Gita. However, I have taken special care not to condense the Avadhuta Gita, which is sublime. As for the 10th canto, which deals entirely with Krishna's childhood, I have not omitted anything. It is not possible to be anything but emotional when one goes through this particular canto. As for the esoteric significance of the several controversial incidents in the 10th canto, I have not ventured into that field. My work has just been the narration of the incidents. Kapila Vasudeva's teachings to his mother, Devahuti, are in the main book, but the Sankhya on which Kapila has elaborated has been placed in the end since it's quite tough. I have tried to elucidate it, but I don't know how far I have been quite successful in the attempt. The glossary has been compiled with great care. It has become quite voluminous, but it is essential that the meanings of the words should be given, or else, for those not quite familiar with the phraseology of the Purana, it will not be very easy to follow the narrative. In spite of these many shortcomings, the book may, I hope, be accepted by the discerning readers who will be tolerant enough to overlook the lapses. It goes without saying that this is not a literal translation, but an attempt to relate the story of the Lord of Narayana and the many forms he donned to establish Dharma on earth. 26 is the number of which Kalki is yet to happen. Krishnavatara is the Purnavatara, and to lead the thoughts of the readers towards these many appearances of the Lord has been my desire. And if the youngsters who read this book become interested enough in the Purana to try and read it in the original, my purpose will be served. I owe a deep debt of gratitude to Sri Ghanshyam Das Birla for the interest he has taken in the book and for the foreword he has been kind enough to write for it. Kamala Subramanian.